everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I just want to preface this video by saying that if you do any of the things that we're going to be talking about in this video, that's fine. I don't mind. I just don't think that they look very good, or I think sometimes they are executed badly. And I'm going to try and tell you from a makeup artist or educational perspective how I think they could be improved, why I don't necessarily like them, and you know, if you've tried them and you've seen them on influencers and they look a bit odd or they look a bit heavy, why perhaps they're not looking the same as you see on YouTube or whatever. Today we're going to be talking about makeup techniques that I hate. Now, I think hate is quite a strong word, but I dislike these, or as I've just explained, think that they are executed quite badly. Just to give you a little rundown if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I'm 26, I work as a plus size model. I wasn't always plus size, I know I always say this. Go watch the video on I'm a curve model now if you're interested in that. And I also work as a makeup artist now. This is something that I had mentioned before but had not really kind of seen it as like a proper job really, but in the last year or so I've not only qualified from the Bath Academy of Media Makeup for doing prosthetics and SFX makeup, but I also started doing more things like wedding makeup and short films and things like that. So that is the kind of background that I'm coming from. I have been in the chair myself a lot, worked with amazing makeup artists on all sorts of kind of fashion brands, beauty brands and things, but I have also done a lot of makeup on other humans as well. So there you go. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please do give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell as well to get notified every time I post, because YouTube literally shows like none of my subscribers my videos anymore, and it's incredibly frustrating. So if you don't want to miss the new content, especially leading up to Christmas and into the new year, it's going to be very exciting, then do hit that bell as well. Let's get into the video. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is putting concealer basically everywhere. Now, although I have been known to do this when I'm having like a more influencer moment, I feel like generally speaking, as a general point across the board, this kind of influencer beauty guru type way of doing makeup is quite a bit heavier than most people need or should be doing, which is kind of overall a bit of a waste of product. But concealer in particular, I find that I'm watching a lot of like young girls with almost perfect skin that don't really need all of that on their face, just piling it on as if they were kind of like my age, equally who does not wear that much makeup. I find that there's a little bit of confusion with perhaps like concealing and highlighting as well. I'm seeing a lot of people doing these massive triangles of concealer all the way down here, popping a little bit in the chin, but like a lot of heavy full coverage product. Again, this is kind of a technique that is taken from drag makeup. Now, drag makeup obviously historically is used to transform the shape of a male face into more of a feminine face, and that is what it's for. So although this kind of technique is very transformative, it's very heavy on the skin. I also find that particularly on a slightly older skin, if you have fine lines and wrinkles and things, all of that product is going to sit. The more product you have on your skin, the more texture that's going to show up. So past a certain age, I feel like putting all of this product on your skin is just going to mean it's going to settle into lines throughout the day. It's going to look really heavy. It's going to age you even more. Other than maybe not having the skin type for doing this thing, most people, as I said before, that have started doing this are really young and they have great skin, and it's just not necessary. I feel like this trend of changing your entire face shape rather than just kind of sculpting out a bit has become this almost need for everyone to do, and it's really day to day something that you don't need. Leading on from this is baking. Now, I have baked in the past to see what it's all about. It seems to be a real trend. Again, this is something that is going to look potentially really heavy, really powdery on the skin. And again, if you have any kind of dryness or texture or fine lines, please excuse my swatches, I'm testing some products out today, then it's one of those things that is going to really show all of this up. If you have mature skin, I'd say it's a no. If you have dry skin, I'd say it's a no. These are all just gonna make your makeup look really makeup-y on you. And again, it's one of those techniques that is used in drag makeup to transform a face, because they are putting so much makeup to make their masculine faces look more feminine as part of their whole transformation. This makeup style is really heavy because everything is really heavy. So they are really heavily setting what they've put there. Everything is over exaggerated. Now, if you're a woman and you already look like a woman because you're a woman, you don't need to be doing that. I find particularly in the last few years when my skin has been a little bit drier and I'm 26 rather than 19, I have tried just to see what it does, and it definitely makes my fine lines look more there, and it really does kind of dry out the skin, and this only gets worse throughout the day. Not only do I feel like it's unnecessary, but it feels like a real waste of product as well. I know some people kind of use it as a way of just making sure that you're not getting fall down from your eyeshadows and things, but if you're really that worried about ruining your base, just do your eyes first. Related to this also is the heavy contouring. Now, I don't mind a little bit of sculpting. I've got bronzer and some contouring powder on today, and I like to go kind of like a heavy blush cheek. There's really heavy contouring everywhere. I see lots of people with really tiny foreheads and stuff, like putting it all the way down here. I see contour lines almost joining to like the outer corner of people's lips. It's just unnecessary. Now, I feel like it's almost as if everyone's doing that kind of like Scott Barnes makeup. Now, I'm a massive fan of his, but even watching his videos on Tati, his makeup is really heavy, but that is because he is doing makeup for video and imaging, and it's really very different working in that, and he's like this master sculptor. So, you know, there's a reason for him doing the things he's doing in the way he's doing it. Plus, he has years of experience and he's doing it perfectly, if that makes sense. That style of makeup for everyday wear, which is kind of what people are doing, which is also kind of that transformative, almost drag style makeup as well, is very heavy in person. I'm seeing all of these young women who already have like perfectly sculpted cheekbones and things, piling it on, lines everywhere, without kind of a real understanding of what these things are doing to their face shape. You know, anything that you highlight is going to pop out, anything that you contour is going to sink in, but I also see a lot of people using very bronzy or warm shades for contouring, which is not really contouring. So there is definitely a lot of makeup theory that goes behind doing some of this sculpting and things, and it is actually a technique that a lot of makeup artists use and have used for years, but in a very subtle way. If you're contouring, you don't really want to know you've done it. It should be that good. It's almost as if like the natural light that you're in is casting a really subtle shadow. It's just enhancing. It's not kind of changing your entire face shape. So I'm seeing every girl everywhere basically sculpt out all of their forehead, bring this in, put it down to here, go under the chin, even if you're, you know, you don't have a double chin like me, you know, bring it all the way down here. I'm seeing it kind of done everywhere, whether or not that person's face shape suits it or not. It's almost as if people are seeing these influencers do that and thinking, I'm just going to copy exactly what they're doing. I see people like Kylie Jenner like sculpts her nose all the time, which I feel, bearing in mind she has a very petite nose and really high cheekbones anyway, almost makes her nose look too small. I just feel like it's another step in your makeup where there's more stuff on your skin that a lot of people are doing without kind of really knowing what they're doing or why, if that makes sense. The next thing I want to talk about are brows. Now, I'm not saying that my brows are perfect, and most of you know, I mean, I've had awful brow days, haven't we all? But, you know, and this is a lot to do with personal preference as well. As I said, although I have a full face on, I do prefer a more natural approach to makeup, like spot concealing, you know, more sort of fluffier brow or a soap brow, something like that, because I prefer to see sort of texture and less sharp lines and things. That's just my natural kind of makeup preference. I feel like it suits people and makes people look more like people. There's nothing wrong with Instagram brows at all. At the end of the day, makeup is expression, and if you feel great walking out the door with an Instagram brow, then babe, you go for it, because if you feel good, then I feel like you kind of shine. So if that's your thing, fine, but I personally just think that they look really harsh, quite blocky. I feel like if you don't get them perfectly matching, then it's really easy to tell that they're off, and it can be a little bit jarring. I have a more natural brow on today, and as you can see, like, they're nowhere near perfect. They are sisters and not twins, and most of the time they are, but that's kind of all right, because it's more of a natural brow anyway. You know, I brush my hairs up so you can see that there's hair there and things, so it really doesn't matter, because they're not kind of really carved out and these like perfectly straight lines and this like very fine, almost like sharp point tail. So it really doesn't matter if they're a little bit off, which kind of helps me out, let's face it. I do just feel it's something that I've never really liked the look of. I admire people that can do it, because it is so kind of precise and sharp that it is quite fascinating to watch, but it's just something that I don't feel like flatters most people and can come across as quite harsh. Related to this is carving your brows out with concealer. Now, maybe you would think that that is part of doing an Instagram brow. I've kind of done it as a separate point. I do see some people who do a more natural brow do this as well, and I don't think it comes across as harsh, because their fluffier brow can kind of take the concealer, especially underneath. It kind of just acts as if it's a highlight or something. So I do feel like that is slightly different. But putting this really, really light coloured concealer all the way around the brow is bizarre to me. I feel like when you have an Instagram brow anyway that kind of lacks that softness because of all the sharp lines and stuff, as we've just discussed, I understand that it kind of makes them pop, but I feel like your brows should kind of frame your face and enhance your natural face shape and kind of frame your eyeshadow. I don't necessarily feel like I should look at everyone's face and see like everything really in your face, if that makes sense. I don't want to look at you and go, lashes, oh my god, eyeshadow, oh my god, brows, oh my god, lips. I feel like it's all kind of together too much, if that makes sense. I feel like this is the trend, and so carving out the brows with a really light coloured concealer, although it does make them pop, and I guess that is the point, it feels very like stark to have them really kind of pronounced and almost like highlighted in this way. I also kind of feel like if you're doing the whole kind of Instagram makeup thing and you've got loads of different product on the face, a lot of it I feel kind of being unnecessary and stuff. You've got a lot of powder, you've done your baking and all that kind of stuff as well. You're just adding more product, which is likely to move later and likely to not wear as well and likely to need touching up more. And I just kind of feel like, especially as, you know, some of us pluck our eyebrows or we wax or whatever, you don't necessarily get this kind of like smooth area all the way around the brow either, so it's just going to highlight any texture that you have there. You don't need to put concealer around your brows. Like, rarely do I ever get a spot there or anything that needs correcting, and I just feel like it's a bit of an odd thing to do, and I don't think it looks very nice, to be honest. But there you go. If you do that and you love it, mate, I'm happy for you, but I personally don't like it. The next thing we're going to talk about is squirting things onto your face. I don't get it. It is a waste of product, especially if you are using something like the Fasali, whatever it is, unicorn blood, I don't know, blood of children, I have no idea. Whatever that shit is that costs a ridiculous amount of money for a tiny teeny bottle that is like, you know, could cover my phone bill twice, is just not something that I want to drip all over my face and see half the bottle gone. It's just not. I don't get it. This to me just comes back to, again, kind of product wastage and using an unnecessary amount of product on the face. It's like, okay, some of it is like clickbaity Instagram videos, like I get it. You see someone doing it, woo, and you're like, oh my God, amazing, I must watch it, clickbait. I get it, I get it. Look, I do the Instagram thing also, and I do YouTube, so I can't really say shit, can I? Let's face it. However, it's just a waste. It's such a waste. Now, I know some of these people will be getting shit for free and stuff like that, but especially when I'm thinking of like the foundation, for example. I see so many girls like squirting it all over their face or like putting it all around, and from a makeup artist perspective, A, they're probably using too much anyway. And, you know, foundation is meant to kind of even you out and not cover everything, to give you a bit more of a perfected base. Most foundations are designed to cover your face to whatever degree of coverage that foundation is marketed as in 1 to 2 pumps, and that is kind of their job. What I see people doing is kind of like squirting it all over and then kind of blending it in or using a sponge or whatever, and that may be fine, but it's just like, it's too much. And also the placements. When you're applying your foundation, you should really be starting in the center of your face and blending away into the edges and into your hairline and stuff, because generally speaking, unless you have acne or other problem areas, or maybe you get sort of pimples in your hairline, things like that, you have redness certain areas, whatever, generally speaking, the center of your face is where you're going to need the most coverage. So that is where you should be focusing the product, and to get that kind of flawless, more natural skin looking finish, but with the coverage that you want, starting from the area where you need the most coverage and blending out seamlessly so that you can almost kind of blend into nothingness or like skin, is just going to be so much better. You're going to use less product, you're going to look better in person, it's going to look more natural, and it's going to look more like skin. And I don't understand why people don't understand this, but there you go. The next thing I want to talk about is highlight. Okay, look, I have no problem with people wanting to like shine to the gods. I don't mind. I prefer a more subtle highlight. In fact, do you know what, this for me, I don't even know if you can see it, but I can see it, and I feel like I applied too much, or maybe it's the texture. I'm not a massive fan of what I applied today. Highlight. Look, everyone wants to be a star, and I know that when you're doing your makeup and you're thinking, oh, I want to get that glow, and you're, you know, you're shining away and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and all this kind of stuff, that maybe we all get a little bit carried away, right? But highlight is meant to be almost like a, is it there, is it not? I had an experience when I went to IMATS, not last year, but the year before, and I cannot tell you the amount of people that I saw wearing so much highlight. I literally thought that one of these girls had walked out, and she was walking down the street in daylight, and it looked like she had literally put a strip of white paint down her nose. It was so much highlight. I think there's something to be said for applying too much, which kind of gives you this funny like ashy thing going on. Shows up really bad texture as well. Anything with a bit of shimmer in it generally is going to enhance any texture that you have, and we all have texture. Skin is skin. You're not made of plastic. That's perfectly normal, that's perfectly fine, it's not a big deal. But applying lots and lots of layers of something that is a really shimmery or shiny product, particularly if it's one of those ones that maybe isn't particularly like finely milled and that has chunks of glitter and things in like that, applying loads and loads here, it's really harsh, and again, showing up loads of texture like makes your skin look far more textured than it actually is, and is really unflattering. I also think there's something to be said for the colours that some girls and guys are using. There's almost this trend to do this real kind of like Tin Man-y pop, and that real cool tone is quite unflattering on most skin tones. And I just think, oh, sometimes I see it like that IMATS girl. I saw her and I was like, look, she had a lot of makeup on. She must have only been about 16 or 17. And look, if you love makeup and it's making you happy. I mean, she had skills, clearly, like her wing was on point, it was sharp, and I was like, look, that's some serious skillage you got there. But where's your mum? Where are your mates? Why has someone not said, look, babe, in daylight, it's looking a bit like you put paint on your face. Like, take her aside and be like, have you seen it in daylight though? It's looking a bit harsh. Do you know what I mean? We've all, you know, overdone it in certain areas. I'm not saying that my makeup is always perfect. Oh my God, in some of my YouTube videos, I think it looks bloody hideous. But, you know, YouTube is setting the trends and doing things like this where people think, oh, I'm going to do that. And they walk outside where they don't have their studio lights and they're not on YouTube and they don't have a filter over it. It's just not a good look. Highlight is meant to be like a, oh, am I there? Am I not? Sort of glow from within, you know? And I feel like, yeah, over highlighting, not a thing. The last thing that I want to talk about today is something that, in fact, very occasionally I might add, because I don't know whether you can tell, I actually have wonky lips. I'm not complaining, I like my lips, I think they're great. They're fine. But I have one side, that side I think, that is higher than the other. So very occasionally I might actually do this, but I do it in a much different way than I see everyone else doing it. And we're going to be talking about overlining your lips. Now, in theory, I don't have any problem with this whatsoever. Look, I don't have a problem with anyone doing any of these things anyway. I just don't think it looks very good. And I think that there are better ways of doing it that would suit people more. Overlining the lips. I see a lot of people overlining by quite a bit, and especially when you are on like profile. I don't know if I can do this for you. You can see that my lip protrudes from my face. You know, it's not flat against your face. And so when you overline to such a degree that you are well above your lip line, especially like me, if you've got quite a pronounced Cupid's bow, ignore my tash, I know, I look like a teenage boy, bear with. It's really noticeable and it looks really not good. Bad English, but you get my point. It doesn't look flattering at all and it's really, really obvious. Another thing I see people doing is going much, much darker around the edge and then filling in with like a really quite light centre. Now there is nothing wrong with doing this, but I feel like people are taking it to the extreme, and that's where I feel like it gets very unflattering and very obvious. The way I like to overline my lips, or enhance my lip shape as I like to call it, that's what I'm telling myself, is rather than filling inside the line of my lip, I like to take my lip liner and on the very, very, very edge of where my natural lip colour and line finishes, I will literally go the pencil width above that. So I will go to where I would normally fill in and I will move my pencil once and I will fill in literally almost like on or just over. It's still gonna make your lips look slightly bigger, but it's not as obvious because you haven't gone like 3 or 4 millimeters above your natural lip line. And that to me is how you overline like a makeup artist. As for colour, there's nothing wrong with going darker on the outside and lighter on the inside at all, but I feel like it's kind of how many shades darker and how far you blend in is going to make the biggest impact. So if you are contouring your lips, like I feel like many of these people are trying to do, then you only want to pick a colour that's like, unless you are blending this kind of lip line colour right in and just kind of patting the centre with that really, really light shade, you kind of only want to go a couple of shades darker than the inside colour you're using. It just looks much more natural. You still do get that depth of colour, but because it's almost so subtle, people don't notice it, and that's what gives it that real feel, as if, oh, those are just how big her lips are. And that is the difference. When you go in with a colour that's, say, like, a really deep red and then you take it in and you put something that's almost like a pale pink on the inside, it's really, really obvious that you've plunked a bit of colour here. Even if you blended it in quite well, it's really, really obvious that this is so much lighter than the outside colour that's not natural. I don't necessarily have an issue with doing this, obviously. I just maybe think that people's techniques could be improved. That is all I have to talk about today. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and what I do want to say is that there is nothing wrong with using any of these techniques, and if they are things that you really like to do and they make you feel good, then tell me to fuck off. It's fine. You have to do what you think looks good on you and makes you feel better, because at the end of the day, makeup is about, I feel, making yourself feel great. And if you think just some lip balm and mascara makes you feel awesome, then that's brilliant. If you're more like me and you prefer a full face but you like it natural, then that's brilliant. And if you like a full-on cut crease with a glitter lid and a winged liner and your Instagram brows on, then more power to you as well. At the end of the day, it is just makeup. But if you are seeing a lot of these people like I am, and then you are trying to do this on yourself and finding that it looks really strange, or you don't like it, or it's heavier than you thought it was, and you're walking outside and thinking, oh, this really isn't working for me, I thought I'd tell you perhaps why. Remember that these guys, just like me, have got studio lights on as well. They're filming, maybe they put a filter over it, who knows? I don't know what everyone else does. I certainly don't do that to my videos, but I know of certain beauty influencers that absolutely do that. So do be aware of the imagery that you're consuming is not always what it seems. And yeah, at the end of the day, it is just makeup, and enjoy it. If you like the things that I said I don't, no biggie, carry on doing it. If it makes you feel great, then go ahead. You know, you're not harming anyone, it's just makeup. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not part of the Janes family, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.